Council Circle here in Bowen Park. It is such a beautiful day. We have the most perfect location, and I mean, how could you pick a better spot? And just it's a great spot for a council circle, and it's just a great spot to be this morning. So thank you for being here. I do want to thank all the dignitaries that have come today and taken their beautiful Saturday morning to be here. It's an honor to have you, and I know our executive director of the Park District is going to introduce everyone. So thank you for being here. My name is Gail Spreen. I'm Dennis Downs' wife, and while Dennis has been doing research on trail marker trees and council circles for over 30 years, I have been in the field with him for about 18, and we have been throughout the Great Lakes looking at trees and council circles all over. And so it is just a pleasure to be here. At this time, it is my privilege to introduce Jay Lerner. He is the Executive Director of the Waukegan Park District, and he will do his welcome and introduce the dignitaries.
Thanks, Gail. Great day we chose here to do this. The Park District's honored to be part of this dedication here today. I just wanted to take a moment and recognize our president of the Park Board, George Bridges, is here today. Thank you. And thanks to Scott McLean and his staff. He worked everything out as far as the location here at the park and to make it look so good. And then Teddy Anderson for promoting the event and getting everybody out here today. Just a short story about how this all came together. Susie Schreiber and Dennis came to me about a year ago and suggested doing this council ring. So we talked about a few different ideas over the course of 6 months or so. I think last fall we decided, okay, we're going to do it, and let's do it in the spring. And I'm glad we chose May instead of April, because that would have been really cold up here. So great day for this. I'll let them tell you all the story and all the meetings, but I just want to thank everybody for coming today, and I'll turn it back over to Gail. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay, and everyone from the Park District that is here. Next, I would like to introduce Dennis Downs, whose never-ending passion for the council circles and trail marker trees continues on. Like I say, I've known him for 18 years. He lives and breathes trees and council circles. So this is just, such a treat to be here. He is an award-winning author and artist, and I'm just going to read a quote from last week, which kind of says it all, as we had a dedication last week. It is by Andrew Johnson. He's Cherokee and the president of the Native American Chamber of Commerce of Illinois, about Dennis. It goes, "The Native American community could not ask for a better friend and supporter. You are gifted. You are a man of passion, tenacity, and integrity. You have pursued a quest that sometimes seems thankless, but we are here today to say thank you. You are a good and honorable man. You are our brother." Very nice. So here's Dennis Down to explain today's event and its significance.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Without this? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I have to talk with my hands. Obviously, I'd like to once again thank everyone for coming out to the planning of the council circle. I have to once again single out Scott McLean for working with me, meetings with me, being on the site together, painstakingly lining up the proper location of the easterlymost tree. And to Jay for making it happen, and Susie Schreiber, who has been to other events I've had, been to other talks on trail marker trees, and it was her that actually brought me up to Waukegan, and we did presentations for your council, for your town council. Council circles and standing stones have been used as meeting places throughout North America and Northern Europe for thousands of years. I've personally visited and studied sites from Stonehenge in England to the standing stones in Upper Scotland to the Ring of Brodgar, council circles in Iowa, the Hilltop site, and I've also visited one of the few living council circles in Charlevoix, Michigan. It's approximately 80 feet in diameter, which is what we based your council circle on. That council circle was shaped in the 1800s was a really powerful feeling to be allowed to be on the private property where it is today and stand in the middle of 32-inch diameter maples forming a living council circle. Famous landscape architect Jens Jensen learned the local Native American customs right in our area in Lake and Cook County. It was during these times that he also gave the first formal speech in 1911 on trail marker trees and the use of trees by local Native Americans. Jensen used this knowledge and incorporated it into his landscape architecture projects. He did patios in the form of circles. He did rings in his landscape in forms of circles. And this was a direct result of learning about the council circles from the Native Americans. I also had the opportunity to visit this area with Kanonazo, Potawatomi historical expert. He took me to Shiloh Park, which is not that far away from you, and showed me the remnants of the one-time living council circle there. Council circles were used as places to discuss things of importance, to voice opinions. A staff or a sacred item would be held by the speaker, and as long as you held that item, you held the floor. Andrew Johnson, Cherokee elder, explained to me that what this really meant was that everyone's voice would be heard, not just the loudest person at the gathering. I think that's very, very important, and we could use it a lot at some of our town meetings and council meetings. Andrew Johnson is the former director of the American Indian Center and explained to me the importance of entering the council circle the proper way. Thanks to Scott McLean again, he is going to bring the path up that you see behind you around the circle a little lower and come back up. So we'll be entering the circle from the east. And for the Native Americans, that's referred to as the beginning. This tree here is marked with this wild turkey feather. This is the easterlymost tree. At the end of our event, I will be planting this tree together with Verlin Spreeman, Menominee elder, together to symbolize the unity of the entrance to the circle. He's also a member of the American Indian Center. What you're witnessing today is the shaping of a living council circle here in Lake County. This has not happened for over 200 years. To have these council circles reappear on the landscape to honor those who came before us. It's my hope that as the trees grow, bonds form here today between all the people gathered. The Native American community will also grow with the Waukegan Park District. I also hope the American Indian Center of Chicago and other Native American groups will be brought out here in the future to educate the people of Waukegan on the traditions of Native Americans that once lived on this land. Thank you. I'd like at this point to introduce Dan Malone, the archaeologist.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and thank you for coming. Today is a historic day for Waukegan and Bowen Park. We have gathered to witness the creation of a council circle of trees created by artist and author Dennis Downs. Working with paint, bronze, and natural mediums, and informed by decades of field and archival research, Dennis's artistic and natural work is based on examples of indigenous material culture, symbology, and oral tradition. My name is Dan Malone, and I am an archaeologist who specializes in Chicagoland history. I've been documenting prehistoric and historic sites throughout the area for over 20 years. For thousands of years, Waukegan was home to numerous indigenous cultures. Indeed, the whole of the North Shore is filled with evidence of their existence. Even today, sites such as camps, villages, cultural materials, and mounds can be found all over Chicago's northern suburbs, including Waukegan. As an archaeologist, I surveyed Bowen Park's sites for the Waukegan Harbor Citizens Advisory Group in 2011. On a personal level, my mother attended the Bowen Country Club, where she stayed in the girls' camp buildings located in the northern part of the park. The foundations of these camp buildings still exist and were part of my survey in 2011. During this time, my grandmother stayed in the Rosenwald house with my aunt, which now serves as the Waukegan, well, it's not the Waukegan History Museum, so I apologize. It was a different building. I have known Dennis for many years and have collaborated with him on numerous research and field outings. Together, we've examined sites throughout northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. Due to Bowen Park's link to indigenous groups of the past, this sacred landscape is the reason why we are all here today. Dennis continues to collaborate with indigenous groups and leaders to celebrate their past, create sacred spaces, promote ideas, and preserve indigenous identity and heritage. This council circle celebrates these people of the past and present, and the landscape that once belonged to them. Joining us today is my friend and colleague Verlin Spreeman, a Menominee from Upper Wisconsin. He is a direct descendant of Chi-Chi-Pinqua, also known by his English name, Alexander Robinson. To Verlin, this council circle is a Native American representation of the circle of life. The sum of people's thoughts and ideas surrounded by nature's beauty ensures that this circle will never be broken. Council circles vary, but the basic premise remains constant. A group is gathered in a circle for conversation and the opportunity to speak. The intentions are for one to speak from the heart, listen from the heart, speak spontaneously, and speak leanly. Today, the council circle of 16 trees will be dedicated to indigenous cultures, both past and present. These trees are a living ring symbolizing equality and friendship. They are a reminder of the people who were here before us and create a space for all of us to gather with family and friends. This was and still is a sacred landscape. I would like to thank Dennis, the Waukegan Park District, the city of Waukegan, and corporate and private sponsors for recognizing this and creating this living landmark. Also, I encourage everyone to research the history of Lake County and the Chicagoland area in general. There is so much to learn and many interesting stories about the people who lived here in the past. Thank you very much for coming out today.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Verlin, for being here. So at this time, I would like to introduce Bernard Jacobs. He is a landscape architect, and he is president of the Jane Addams Memorial Park Advisory Council. Bernie is a great tree enthusiast. His email address is actually Treeman, and so is his license plate. So he very much appreciates the trees and the council circle that is being created today. We also have a great connection between Bowen Park and the Jane Addams Memorial Park that is downtown by Navy Pier and Ohio Street Beach, where Jane Addams would bring the children up here, which I'm sure you all know about the Jane Addams Memorial and all the history that is here. So we are very happy to have Bernie Jacobs here today to talk a little bit about From the Trees to Jane Addams Park. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Took me a long time to get that license plate. It's my first year. I'm real excited to be involved in a lot of different things now. I've been working on historic parks in Northern Illinois, where the people we work with and the people we learn from were Jens Jensen and O.C. Simons and Alfred Caldwell, who all studied and incorporated the prairie style of landscape architecture in a lot of areas along the Northern Illinois shorefront. I worked on the town of Fort Sheridan restoration, which was a prairie landscape architect by O.C. Simons. We did a council ring with stones. I did 2 other projects with council rings. I had always thought that Jen sort of came up with this, and it was kind of cool because that's what I read. After meeting Dennis, I found out it went way further back, and that the Native Americans were instrumental in teaching Jens about council rings. Those of you who have been to Jens Jensen parks know there are multitudes of council rings in his park. I'm currently restoring an Alfred Caldwell garden on top of a roof deck along the lakefront. We have 5 council rings on the park. Now I know they go, because I always just thought they were Alfred Caldwell. Now I know they get back to the Native Americans. It's really cool. A lot of the trees that you see in and around here, I like to plant a lot of native trees. There aren't many of them. There unfortunately have been too many introduced species. Red oak, one of my favorites. I wish these trees the best of luck. I will hug each and every one of them and wish them the best on their journey. We like to do that. I encourage you to do the same thing. And I thank you for introducing me and inviting me to this important event.
I would like at this point to introduce Susie Schreiber, Waukegan Harbor Citizens Advisory Group. Susie?
Well, thank you. Now I've got to juggle my stick or my poker or my whacker. There we go. Thank you. That works. Thank you, everybody, for coming. This is really a beautiful day. I wish you could see it, all of you, with the sun shining down on your faces. It is so welcoming after we saw this area in 2008 as a jungly, ickety thicket that you couldn't get through anywhere. So, the peoples and cultures inhabiting the shores of the Great Lakes in pre-settlement times were strong, skilled, knowledgeable, supportive of their families and communities, and most importantly, truly sensitive to the gifts of the shared bounties of our natural world. Today, we remember and honor the pre-settlement peoples. They are giving to us a little of their past, the Council Circle, to be a guide to our future. As we work to restore the Great Lakes, may everyone enjoy a piece of the restoration work in the rich ecological communities found in Bowen Park and the wetlands to the east. 7 decades ago, the Council Circle on the shores of a remote northern Minnesota lake quite close to the Boundary Waters National Park in the U.S. and the Quetico National Park in Canada was our Camp Vesper Circle in the summers of my youth at Camp Northland. The tall, old, majestic pines forming the circle overlooked the shores of Lake Burnside. I understand today why the spot remains a sacred place in my heart and in my mind. Others, many decades before, had used our Camp Vesper Circle as a gathering spot, sharing their thoughts and counsel together. Native American and First Nation people planted the gift of that council circle. With everyone today joining in planting 16 native red oak trees in Bowen Park's new council circle, we carry on the tradition. It can provide the greater Waukegan community, the residents, and visitors to Lake County in northern Illinois inspiration. One might face north and think, to integrate. Face east and think, to inspire. Face south and think, to focus. And face west and think, to gather and to share. It's inclusive of all. Today, the Bowen Park Council Circle honors the past Native Americans, early settlers, the vision of Mrs. Bowen in providing a summer camp for Jane Addams' Hull House children and families, one of whom is with us today. I need it up here. I guess. Sorry. For many years, and for the Waukegan Park District's care and nurture of this site. May the best of our past build on our future to come in Waukegan and in Lake County. And thank you to everyone and all the organizations, federal and NGO, that helped make this possible. And we're really pleased to see those of you that represent some of the Lake County Nature Network groups that made a special effort to come out here today, and to the campers, who may be here, to Park District staff, to city officials, to Faith in Place. It's just a really, really nice place to be, and thank you so much for coming.
And so just as a wrap-up, I would like to thank everyone once again. It's almost like you can just see why the Native Americans would have even used a spot like this. You've got a great view. You know, probably at that time you might have been able to see Lake Michigan even better. You've you've got the ravine. It could be cool, cooler down there. So it's just a great spot to have a council circle and then to remember the history that has most likely gone on here. So at this time, we would also like to make sure that the history of the Native Americans continues with their customs and their cultures, and so hopefully generations to come, as these trees grow, will be able to use this space to have celebrations, have meetings, and carry on the history. And so at this time, we would like to do the plantings of the trees. We're going to start with the easternmost tree, and Verlin Spreeman and Dennis will do the first shovelfuls of the
We're
very.
going to plant it completely.
They're going to plant it completely.
Together.
Okay, and then we will continue and do all of the trees. So again, thank you for coming.
Dan Malone to plant the other entrance tree. Dan?
So we're going to have Dan Malone and Bernie Jacobs plant the other entrance tree. So we'll put them to work now.
You can tell we both shoveled it. I hear you. We'll get the Indian Center out here with that.
How are they doing?
Hey, Tom, I gotta look at every shovel.
That's right. You don't know what you'll find in the
Don't know what I'm going to find.
Not so interesting.
That would happen, yeah. Yeah, I forgot. Ring shape, the pressure down.